Welcome to the podcast. Yay, we're so glad you're here. Dr. Charleanea Arellano, could not be more thrilled to have you. We do not go way back like many of the guests I've had on the pod, but we did have one of those like, we should know each other when we first, other people told us we should know each other. And then when we met, we were like, yes, we should in fact know each other.
Yes.
Um, I would love my favorite way for people to introduce themselves is if you were in what's your favorite magazine that you
Oh my
follow?
God. I don't read magazines. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. Okay, what
I
about a
don't have
website?
time. How say that again?
What about a website that you like to just read articles or okay, we're gonna go with your biography because you're that
Okay.
fancy. We're
Okay.
gonna say for your book,
Oh,
for the intro to your book, what would you want people who have never met you, they don't have any context on you, they don't know about your background, what do you want them to know about you? How would you introduce yourself to the world?
my gosh, you're putting me right on the spot from the beginning, Jade. You didn't tell me about that. What would I
On
want them to
purpose.
know?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think what I would want them to know about me is that I am just as human as anybody else. And there's no secret sauce. There is no I got special treatment, or I got the breaks, or I got a great hand. No, I'm just human. I'm just human. I've had life experiences. The life experiences have made me who I am, have created a perspective that I have in life. And there's nothing like that is like special. Yeah, we're all special, right? But there's nothing secret or special about my journey. And I what is really important to me is I want people to understand that where I am, what I've accomplished, what I've done in my life, anybody can do that. And I do believe that. I do believe that wholeheartedly. It doesn't matter what hand you've been dealt. You can create whatever it is you want out of your life, and I believe that very strongly.
Mm. This is where you and I are like same page. We
Okay.
are on the same page
I
and I
like
love
that.
it. So good. Just for folks who are like, tell us more about your accomplishments and your, right, what you've done in your life. Give us the like, the peaks.
The peaks?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll start with the high level, which usually people want to hear about, right? So I have a PhD in psychology, and I have been practicing for over 30 years. I went to the University of Denver. I've got lots of accolades. We don't have to go into all of those. I'll just say that my son makes fun of me when I say this. He's like, you're not from the East. Where the hell did you get this from? I say, I'm wicked smart and I've accomplished a lot in life. I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I'm a coach, I'm a psychologist. I do all the things. I love what I do. And I would say my arena is really about self empowerment. Adversity, resilience are my go tos in terms of what I talk about.
Yeah. And your business background, did you ever do corporate or did you go straight to your own?
No, no. Well, okay. My version of corporate, Jade, and I understand it's not corporate, but in some ways, I think industries are different in terms of content, but I think dynamics are the same. I actually started out in academia. So I was a professor and a research associate, and I did that for about 8 years. And I could not stand the politics. I could not stand the dynamics. And I'm like, I'm out of here. And then I went into the clinical world and I worked at a hospital, a children's hospital, for about 6 years. And I thought, the grass isn't greener, it's just different grass, same BS. I hated it. And I got to the point, full disclosure here, Jade, it was like, I got to save myself. If I keep staying here, my soul's gonna die. I'm gonna be miserable, and I jumped ship. And so that was back in 2003, and I've been in business for myself since then.
Was the best year ever. It's the
Uh,
year I graduated high school also. This was our hand signal
I
for
love
that.
it.
Oh
I
three,
love
oh
it.
three.
Good year, right?
Yes. What a good year. Also, I love that here I am at Smith University for the
Yes,
summer.
yes,
And it's so true though. Every industry and every, I'm just going to call it arena, has, you put enough people in a group, create a little hierarchy, and it's like, oh, not surprisingly, we have created similar bureaucracies,
yes.
similar breakdowns, very similar issues for the people who are especially at the bottom. But I
Yes.
think at the top too. I think it goes both ways.
Yes.
And luckily, I'm just a plus one for the mug. I'm here for the mug,
I
but
love
I
the
am
mug.
married to a professor, so I parallel that world, and it's true, right? It's like pros and cons. But for Amanda, it was her dream was to be a professor, and so she really leans into the parts of it that are fun and amazing and great. And boy, the politics are no joke, though.
Yeah.
They're no
I think
joke.
academia is horrible when it comes to politics.
Why do you think that is? What's your vibe on that?
Honestly, and this is going to be a sociological phenomenon. You actually nailed it on the head. I'll just go into a little bit more detail. When you put a bunch of people together, you get a natural power structure and hierarchy, right? Add to it limited resources.
Mhm.
And as soon as you add limited resources, and what I mean by limited resources, I'm talking about funding and positions. So it creates a dynamic where it's kind of like the dog eat dog world. It really
Mm,
is. There's a lot of backstabbing. There's a lot of things that happen because people are approaching situations from this very much a scarcity mindset. And so you automatically get this, this hierarchy. You get who's the less than, who's the better than, and there's just this just stiff competition for what
mm.
little resources are available.
Well said.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like there will never be enough,
right.
no
Right?
matter what.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So true.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That was fun. So let me start with this little zinger because I love to, come in hot, as
Okay.
you know.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm prepared. I love coming in hot too, but I'm not usually the recipient of coming in hot. So let
I
me
know this
see.
is fun. I love that you have your own podcast and now you're on my podcast. Okay. Let's talk about what's something everyone believes, right? Most people believe that you think is just completely wrong. Like they've got it wrong, and here's why.
Great question. Oh my goodness. I could go at that from a lot of different angles.
I know.
So I think I'm gonna go at it from an angle that I think I really bought into. And, I'm going to speak specifically. I can only speak to Americans and American culture because that's what I live. That's what we live, right? But I think one of the things that we have wrong in our world today, or in the US today, is that all you have to do is work hard. Just work hard. Just work hard. And that is part of, if you look at what the United States was built on, when you look at what America was built on, it was work hard, work hard, work hard, work hard, and you're going to get what you need. And don't get me wrong, I think we do work hard. We have to work hard for things, but that gets to the point where it becomes the only thing. And it gets to the point where it goes beyond what is necessary. And there are so many things that get attached to it. Working hard, identity gets attached to it, success gets attached to it, value gets attached to it. And I think that's where we get things wrong, is when we start attaching these experiences, these human experiences, to working hard and success.
Mm. Yeah, one of my I think I have this on my top 10 business books list that I give everybody is the 10x
Yep.
theory,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Which really
Yep.
I think in my career has proven to be true. That you can in fact 10x something with less effort than what it takes to 2x something.
Bingo.
Because, right,
Yes.
everyone's trying to 2x,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much everybody.
Yep.
And so if you can come up with a way to like, let's be smarter, more efficient, optimize, right? Like figure out the plays to get us there quicker, it's possible. Takes some focus, right? Often takes narrowing our position and what we're doing and what we're going after, but it's been done many times over.
It has. And it's interesting. I actually read that book, by the way, Jade. And what was interesting about that is I felt like, oh, I did this before I even knew that the book
Mm,
existed, right?
yeah.
And one of the things that it talks about in the book that I think is really important, this is my interpretation, by the way, this is a translation, is in order to go from 2x to 10x, it requires you shedding identity.
Hmm.
It requires you to shed beliefs, because it's our belief structure that keeps us in old patterns of moving through the world, right? And what gets us here is not going to get us there,
Preach.
right?
Preach, doctor.
Yes,
Yes.
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 And here's the crazy part. It is humans do not like change. Humans like to hold on to things that feel certain. And the problem with that is that we hold on to old ways of navigating in the world, and those old ways that used to be successful actually limit us or restrict us when we're trying to grow and evolve.
1000%. This brings me back to my first business. Like, so, like, I'm like right there, which, in the service model, it's right. More contracts, more work, more people, you need more resources. And it's this never ending hamster wheel. And you can become actually quite successful, quote unquote, right? Like we did over $1 million, right? It
Mm-hmm.
was a successful agency.
Mm-hmm.
And I was miserable,
Mm-hmm.
like to the point of like, what am I even like? Getting out of bed is like, I'll do it because that's what I have to do, but I don't want to. There
Right.
was nothing, not motivated, not inspired, not any of it. And actually, this is one of I'll plug coaches here because I had a business coach who said, you need to go do something to interrupt this pattern. And this is back in the day when Landmark was like, it was huge. It was all over pre-COVID. And I went and did the Landmark Forum and had like a ontological, like, oh, it is my identity.
Yep.
I have completely attached my identity to this business and my own worth and self-value to this business.
Bingo.
And that's like the moment I decided to sell it was when
Wow.
that all clicked for me. Because it was like, oh, I could go do something else. I am not this business. And I'm constantly talking to solopreneurs, especially now. That's like, you are not your identity. This meat suit is
Yes.
not the same as your entity.
Right.
And let's keep it clear. Like,
Yes.
don't get those two mixed because you make weird decisions when it's all caught up in your identity. Like, what's an example that you've experienced or seen where somebody is so caught in their identity that they make in the business world, we'll call it a pretty bad decision, but in their right from their identity perspective, it's like, well, this was the right thing to do. Like, do you have anything in that like squishy area?
I'm laughing because I'm going to use myself as an example, Jade.
Me
How do
too.
you
That's what
like
I
that?
do.
How
I
do you
love
like
it.
that? Oh my goodness, I just came out of that in 2025. It's a great example, and it actually resulted in my doing some pretty deep investigation of myself. And basically what that was, up until 2025, what I was doing and how I was doing it worked for me. Again, this is not about bragging or tooting my horn. I had the system and I had the resources. And when I say resources, is I was tenacious, persistent, intelligent, resourceful. I was all these things, and I went through life and I got all the things that I wanted to get. Then 2025 hits, and talk about the 10x versus 2x. I decided I'm going to 10x it, and I decided to up level in my business in a way that I had never even attempted in decades. And I used the old paradigm, and the old paradigm is just work, do more, learn more, do more, prove more, do all these things, hire all these people, throw all this money at things, more. And what happened was, the effort and the resources that I put toward up leveling, the output or the ROI wasn't even a fraction. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, that's not what's important about this conversation. What's important about this conversation is what was happening inside of myself as a result. We're getting into identity, right? And I was at the point where I was chronically activated. My nervous system, I mean, I was living on the edge. And I'm not talking about living on the edge in a positive, like exuberant, risk taking kind of way. I was living on the edge of, oh my God, I think I might lose my mind any moment. Like, it was that edge. And what I recognized was how these things, first of all, it was the first time in my life where I was, in air quotes, confronting failure. And I became very aware of what my ego and I was doing about this. And that was, I'm a failure. Oh my God, here I am. I'm out in the world. I'm presenting myself publicly and I'm not doing it right. I'm failing, I'm failing, and what ended up happening is because I had, my identity was I'm a successful entrepreneur that anything I touch, I'm good at. And here I am, this didn't work. And what is that saying? So my being on edge had less to do with the fact that my efforts weren't equaling, the results weren't equaling the efforts. It had less to do with that than what I was telling myself about what it meant about me. That was the part that was sending me over the edge.
Did you reconcile it?
I had a few dark nights of the soul, Jade. I'm not gonna lie. And I think I can laugh about this now. I think what's funny, and I think when I started our conversation with I'm just as human as everybody else, one of the things that I want the listeners to know, and I get this all the time from people in my circle, is like, it doesn't matter that I'm an expert at human behavior. It does not exempt me. It does not exempt me from the human experience. And they're the saying, I think the saying is with the cobbler's children have no shoes. It's basically the same. It doesn't matter what my expertise is. When it comes to human experience, I'm going to go through the same crap that everybody else goes through, right? And so you asked me, how did I get through this? Again, not going to lie, I had many dark nights of the soul. And what it caused me to do, or what it did, is it was like I was at a breaking point, and I finally confronted myself and said, this doesn't work. This is not working. This is not working. I cannot push myself anymore. I cannot do anymore. It's impossible. So I need to confront what I believe about myself and what I believe about the world. And so I started asking different questions. Instead of asking, what do I need to do next? Or what can I do more of? Or what is the next strategy? What I started doing was asking myself other questions like, why am I so activated right now? Why am I in fight or flight? What is happening? What am I telling myself? What am I telling myself about this experience? And I was telling myself, I'll entertain you a little bit here because this is how silly our mind can be. I just didn't get the result I was looking for. Okay, that's it. That was all it is. That's simple. Okay, my mind had me convinced that I was an utter failure, and not only was it an utter failure, but I was going to be living under a bridge in Denver somewhere. That is what my mind was telling me. And my nervous system was going, holy shit, I'm not going to survive. I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to be hungry. I'm going to live under a bridge. Okay. So this is how crazy our stories can get. And so what happened was this pivot for me was really about, this is not working. This hard work, pushing, proving, pushing, doing more is not even getting what I want. Before, it got me what I wanted. It didn't matter what the cost was because I got what I wanted. But here I was doing this thing and it wasn't even getting me what I wanted. I really needed to investigate why I was doing the things I was doing. And so I really looked into, what is my identity that's attached to this? What is it that I'm making this mean about me? What story is getting activated by this disappointment? And so that's how I shifted. And it got me much more into self-awareness. It got me into, why am I doing the thing that I'm doing? And is it serving me? Those kinds of questions is where it got me.
Mm, I love that. As you were talking, I was like visualizing the universal theory of change,
Mm-hmm.
where, you really do have to hit a rock bottom.
Yep, you do.
There's no like, I think I jokingly called it the transformational trampoline at the bottom. Like, you gotta, and it sucks. It
Mm-hmm.
sucks. That dark night of the soul is like, I just did a journaling exercise recently where I like hit on all of those throughout my life because they're memorable. You do not
Oh,
forget the dark nights of your soul.
no, you do not.
They don't go anywhere. There's like something in here that's like, you need to store this away. This is a special file.
Yes.
And one of the things that you just really brought up for me that resonated was shifting the narrative, not just of like your identity and that piece, but like, what are you saying to yourself? Because you have these voices that are just constantly, right? And they don't stop no matter what. And just like a muscle, just like going to the gym, we can train them.
Mhm.
We can train these little
Yes.
nuggets to say different types of things,
Right.
but it's an inordinate amount of work. Like in my experience, compared to physical health, it is much easier to go to the gym and lift weights than
Hmm.
it is to train these muscles of
Yes.
these voices that never stop. And they're never going to stop. It's just how much influence and awareness can we have of them
Right.
to make that difference for ourselves so we
Right.
can break through those, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
We
good.
we get in our own way. We get in our own way, and I think part of you're right, going to the gym and lifting weights is a lot easier,
Hmm.
than working through some of these things, because it's a very complicated web that we weave in our head. And interestingly, we have convinced ourselves that our very survival is dependent, is attached to what we believe is true. So that
Can you
complicates it.
can you speak a little, because I have all kinds of theories that are not rooted in any there is no academic backing to what I think about that. So I'm curious from your perspective, like why do human beings get so attached to that, like what is it? Like is it some intrinsic, is it evolution? Is it our tribal nature? Like what do you think's going on there in a practical, like, not super academic for people like me,
Sure.
but
Sure.
just from your perspective, how would you, if you had to write a book on it, what would it be about?
Well, and it's funny. I may write a book on it.
Yes. Yes. Can't
This
wait.
this thing called and this idea of being a human and humaning. What people don't realize, and again, this is where self awareness is gold. Like if I were to say, what is the most important resource that you can have, the most important tool in a toolbox, I will tell you self awareness is the hammer. It's the most basic, most important tool. And so what's happening is, first of all, what we don't realize as humans is we tend to believe we're so evolved. And we are. When we look at the animal kingdom, we are evolved because we have this wonderful, yes, we have the opposing thumbs and we have what's called the frontal lobes, right? You take that away and we're not any different than most animals in the animal kingdom. And at the very core of who we are, the very core of how we operate is our nervous system, and our nervous system's job is to make sure we're safe. Period. Now, when you talk about, is this evolution? Absolutely. This is evolution and biology. We are designed to keep ourselves safe. Now, what's happened with evolution, what safety means has changed. In prehistoric times, safety was physical. We would get eaten by animals that were 100 times bigger than we were. Okay, and so we needed to have this mechanism in our brain that was very vigilant to any changes in our environment. So if we heard a rustling in the bushes, we would have that fight or flight or freeze, a mechanism in our brain that would kick on, because if it didn't, we would die. Now, evolve into modern times, what's happened is our identity has now become the basis of safety. So it's less about our physical safety and it's more about emotional or psychological safety, and it's more about who are we and preserving that. Well, why does that matter? Why is it attached to safety? Let's get right back to the tribe. We as humans cannot survive on our own. We come into the world dependent. As a matter of fact, we can't survive unless somebody feeds us and protects us and takes care of us. Now, that is very primal and it never leaves. It never leaves our brain. So we can be my age, 61, and if I'm not valuable, okay, the tribe is going to get rid of me. And if I get kicked to the curb, I'm not going to survive. So this is why preserving our identity gets to the level of survival. If I am not who I believe is valuable, then nobody is going to want me and I'm going to be alone. And if I'm alone, I will die. And that's how that part of our brain works. And so without awareness, we will react as if that's true.
Like really life or death,
Yes.
truly.
Yes.
Because our nervous
Truly.
system knows it knows no
No
different.
different. No different. And here's the crazy part as well. Our nervous system doesn't know the difference between actual event and the thing we make up in our mind. So we can think, oh my God, I'm going to get kicked to the curb. And our nervous system is going to kick in and go, oh, I got to take care of this person. I got to protect this person. And we've got four choices. We've got fly, get the hell out of there. We've got, fight, flight, fight, which is I'll fight. We've got, the fawning. Fawning is people pleasing, making everybody happy so you don't get kicked to the curb, or freezing, which is just shutting down, completely shut down. Those are our four options. So when we're in that part of our brain, when we're in that survival part of our brain, four options. We will do one of these things in the situations, and you probably see it every day. Every day you see some form of this. What do you think road rage is? What do you think is happening at the counter at Starbucks? People are chronically in fight or flight, right?
Mhm.
Or
Lots of
fawn.
fighting. Lots of
Yes.
fighting.
Yes.
Which just
Absolutely.
what? Like spikes all your cortisol levels, your
Right.
adrenal glands are falling apart. It's
Ex-
really impactful on your biology, which is
mhm.
that's one of the things that I get really excited about in these conversations is like opening up these doors for folks to understand that what feels like is just happening in your mind is in fact extremely impactful on your whole
Yes.
I like to call this our meat suit. Like
Yes.
this whole thing is what's going on in here can cause all kinds of issues.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Big
Because
ones.
because thoughts have biological underpinnings or responses. We just have to think something to get our heart rate to go up. We just have to think something to have adrenaline dropped in our system and cortisol raised. We just have to think it. Our imaginations are powerful. And a lot of us use our imaginations in ways that are very destructive to us. Very destructive to us.
Preach, doctor.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I spend a pretty good amount of time. I have a practice every day where I've recorded myself saying my own life's mission. So like
Mm-hmm.
a 3.5 minute what I'm up to right
Mm-hmm.
now in my life that I'm really committed to. And then I listen to it at the end of the day. And I'll tell you what the impact it has on my thoughts because it's this crazy thing where like whatever you put in, it's pretty sticky in there in my
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I have this rule like I don't do scary movies, I don't do true crime, I don't do any of that cuz I realized at a very young age. I remember being like 5 6 years old and somehow I saw it, or at
Mm-hmm.
least part of it, that terrifying clown movie. And I have never, and I think I was scared of clowns before, but then I was like next level. Like, clowns will just show up in your nightmares now. But it's not because I was born terrified of clowns. They are creepy. You can't see their facial expressions. That's real. But right? It was the input.
Mm-hmm.
It was the
Yep.
input. And
Yep.
we're constantly giving ourselves that input with these little critters that just never stop talking, which is our own
Exactly.
internal voices. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I think this is a great segue to hear your thoughts on the rewire that you are most excited about sharing and sharing with the listeners what it is and how it's helped you and others rise.
Absolutely. I let's do the rewire. So I think for me, the big rewire, Jade, and it's funny. I feel like it was forced rather than I voluntarily went into it. I'm not going to lie. That's human nature. We don't like change. We think that we have it figured out, and we have this system, and we're going to stick to that system. Now, the thing that I realized, and a lot of people don't realize this, Jade, they will go to their grave sticking to the system. I know we've all had that experience. And the pivot for me, or the rewire, was recognizing a couple of things. Recognizing that what got me to this point was done. It's not going to get me to the next level. And so one of the things that I often say to my clients, what got you here is going to keep you from getting there unless you make some changes. Now, we're designed, I mean, as humans, we're designed to constantly be adapting and evolving and growing. But our minds get in the way of that process and we hold on tightly to things. And so for me, my big aha in 2025 was I was used to just nose to the grindstone, be tenacious, be persistent, work hard, and you're going to get what you want. And that's what I got through decades in my life. And, to be honest, to be fair, it worked. I've been successful. I've built a business. I've got all these accolades. I have all these degrees. I'm capable. I've shown myself that I'm capable of doing all kinds of things, which is wonderful. And it was time to lay it down. The 10x and 2x, that is definitely a real thing. It's not a theory. It's a real thing. And so the big thing for me was the rewire was, okay, if this that got me here is not going to get me there, then I need to be open to what's this, And so for me, it was literally laying down that sword and going, that's not going to work for this leg of my journey. Well, what is going to work, And I think the biggest thing for me, and it sounds so simple, Jade, the rewire is pausing and being curious about what's going on. So instead of asking myself questions like, what do I need to do next? What do I do to need to make this work? What's my next strategy? How do I achieve this outcome? Which is all very achievement focused and was what I did before. I ask different questions. The questions are, what is driving me right now? So what is the motivation? Why am I going after this thing? And am I going after this thing because it actually aligns with what I value? And it's an expression of something I value? Or am I going after this thing because this thing outside of me is going to give me my value? That was a really important thing, is many of us are working from the outside in. And you brought up something with your business, which I think is a really good example of outside in. You built this thing out here. And from every measure, anybody looking at it would go, Jade is successful, right? From every measure. But internally, you were like, this really sucks. I am miserable. And believe me, I've been there, Jade. I've been there. My outside life, I built this life. It looks successful. Everybody would go, wow, I'd love to have your life. And I was miserable. Why was I miserable? Because I was building this thing out here to have an experience in here. And that's backwards. It's actually backwards. So that's why I asked the question, what's driving me? Because whatever it is I'm trying to create in the world, it serves me for it to come from internal out, which is based on what I value, versus I'll build this thing to make me something, which is the opposite, right? So that's one thing. Another thing in terms of rewiring is what story has gotten activated as a result of something I'm going after. Be aware. What am I telling myself right now about myself or the situation, and being aware of that and saying, is this really where I want to be going? Is this really what I want? Which gets into another question. Why is this outcome so important to me? When I think about 2025 and the disappointing results, the outcome was important because I was trying to prove something. I was trying to prove that I was successful. And my mind had its death grip on a number. If I get this number, then I'm successful. Here's the problem. That line is always changing, right? Always changing. I remember probably about 15 years ago, and I've done a lot of my own growth groups, all that stuff, Jade, and the manifestation and all that. I wrote myself a check about 10 years ago, and I put a number in the check. I put it in there, and it was funny because, maybe 15 years ago, that number seemed like so big, right? So big. And it was like, if I get that number, and I'm talking income, if I get that number, everything's going to be great. Well, in 2024, I hit that number and it didn't matter. It did not
Same.
matter, right? Because guess what?
Hmm.
You changed the goal line, right? You change the goal line. There's something more you want. And again, the reason I bring that up is we focus outwardly. We focus on outward circumstances, numbers, lines to define who we are and our value. So I shifted it. I changed it inside out rather than outside in.
I hope this is in your book. Is this going to be in your book?
It'll be in a book.
It'll be in a book. Stay tuned.
Yes. I have
Uh,
a book. I have a book that's in publication right now, but it's not exactly about this. This will be the next book. Yes.
Love it. Okay.
Yes.
It's brilliant. I've never heard anyone describe it the way you just did, and I have similarly done a lot of growth
Mm-hmm.
work in different domains and different styles. So I love the um very practical, like nobody is going to listen to that and say, I don't know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy. It's obvious. It's like, yes, of course, inside out, except not really.
Mm-hmm.
Most of what we're doing is outside in.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's a huge shift.
Yes.
And it's a perfect transition into tell us what you're working on right now that you're most excited about, and how can listeners get up under you? How can we support you? How can we spread the word? Like, what's 2026?
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking. I'm going to tell you, I've told a lot of people who know me, I was like 2025, whoo, it was a rough year. Okay. And it was a rough year, yet here's what I'm happy about. Because of what happened in 2025, it really did force me to look at myself. It really forced me to look at old patterns. It really forced me to look at how I attached my identity and my value to external circumstances, which when you really think about it is crazy, because we have no control of anything that happens outside of ourselves. We can try to influence, we can try to do things, but when you attach your value and your identity to something that you have literally no control over, that's a crazy idea when you really think about that, right? So I love the fact that it helped me look at that, and that's a win to me. The other win that is closely related to this, Jade, is that my framework that I am currently developing, establishing, testing, doing right now was born out of 2025, and the hopefully it's okay, the shit show that I experienced. This was born out of it, and I love that. And what I'm most excited about, I'm excited about several things, but I'll say what I'm most excited about is this framework that I am going to be bringing into the world, whether it's in a group coaching, one-on-one coaching, workshops, stages, whatever. It's the idea, I call it embodied narrative. And so basically what it is, it's a framework for what I've talked about today. And that is when you are navigating life, what is important is to come from the inside out. And inside are three things. What am I telling myself? The stories that I tell myself, because here's the thing, stories create your reality. What we tell ourselves puts out into the world our experience. And there is interesting research that supports this in sports psychology.
Hmm.
And I'll give you an example. They've done research where they've taken athletic skills, and they've had one person imagine the skill in their mind. Like, for example, basketball and shooting free throws. And they took people, one group of people actually doing the free throws over and over and over again. And then they had the other group of people imagining, closing their eyes at the free throw line, imagining them. And they were equal in their growth and their ability to do this skill. Okay, generalize. Our imaginations are powerful. They create our reality. So embodied narrative is about story, being aware, what do I tell myself? Because whatever I tell myself is going to create my reality. Second thing, body, embodied experience. We as Americans live from the head up. And our bodies are it's a whole nother level of wisdom. Our bodies never lie to us. Our bodies are always online. Nervous system, sensations, it's always telling us where we are, how we are, and it gives us important information in terms of navigating life. And they're linked. They're linked in terms of the stories we tell ourselves create a body response, and nervous system informs the story. So there's that part of it. And then the third part of it, the triangle, is identity. Basically, all our identity is a bunch of stories that we've been telling ourselves for decades. It's just the accumulation of those. And so this idea of embodied narrative, it's an intervention for me. So when I'm working with people, so for example, I work with a lot of very driven, high achieving kind of leadership types of people. And what I find is, here's the crazy part. Most people that are very successful, way up on, CEOs and leaders of companies, what you will find is what got them there are actually adaptations. They have learned because of life experience to do these things that have made them successful, but it's not conscious. And so they get stuck. The thing that has made them successful is actually the thing that keeps them stuck in terms of growth. And so my framework is to help people become more conscious so they're choosing responses versus automatically reacting based on adaptive patterns. So that's a lot of that's a lot of lingo that I don't want, hopefully people are able to translate that into a practical sense. So basically it really comes down to what I'm excited about, helping people understand how their bodies work for them, the stories they tell themselves, and how they create their reality either knowingly or unknowingly. So that's what I'm most excited about.
And the modalities that you're doing this through, right? You're working with mostly women,
Mm-hmm. Mostly women of color, queer
women of
folks.
color, queer folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Mm-hmm.
have groups, one on one. You're an epic keynote speaker, I can only imagine. I'd love to come see you do a keynote sometime. Invite me.
I will do
Okay,
that.
great. And can we follow you on the socials? Are you a
Yeah.
talker? Are you an Instagrammer? Where are you at?
Well,
You're definitely on LinkedIn.
yes, I'm definitely on LinkedIn, and I do have Instagram and TikTok. I have taken a break. Talk about a nervous system reset. I made a very conscious decision to take 6 months off of social media in order for a reset. So right now I'm not active, but I have accounts and people can follow me on Instagram, Dr. Charleanea. They can follow me on TikTok, Dr. Charleanea. They can find me on Instagram, Dr. Charleanea Arellano. And if they're interested in working with me, whether it's one-on-one or in group settings, or if they want to bring me into their team, I do full day workshops, facilitation, those kinds of things. Then they just go to my website, which is also very easy to remember. It's www.drcharleanea.com. And I'll spell my name, Charleanea.
Brilliant.
Yes.
That was beautiful. I can only imagine doing a workshop with you in a group setting on identity. Because as
Mm.
much as we have identities as individuals, we also create identities in teams.
Yes.
And sometimes they are some counterproductive identities.
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, yes, those
Yes.
toxic. I'm like, oh, it's not toxic. It's just a narrative that's become real,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
we're acting it out, but we made it up.
Right.
No one's toxic.
Yeah.
Human
Yeah.
beings aren't toxic.
It's amazing. I just did a full day workshop at the beginning of this month, and basically this is what I taught is, a lot of times what happens in team settings, people aren't having conversations they need to be having. They're hard conversations. The reason they're not having these conversations is because they don't trust themselves. They don't trust, can I manage what's happening in here as something is coming out of my mouth, and then I have to be aware of what's happening on the outside, the receiving end. And so then people avoid it. And I actually worked with this team for a year because of the dynamics that had gotten created around avoidance and all the stories the teammates were making up about each other because nobody was communicating with anybody. And so we did this full day workshop on embodied narrative. And the big takeaway was, first of all, people are having the same experience. I'm not the only one. And secondly, what I believed was happening wasn't even happening. And, so to help people have the courage and confidence to have conversations and be able to manage their reactions, their nervous system reactions, and the stories that they're telling themselves, feels overwhelming to most people.
Absolutely. And so we
Yes,
just don't do it.
exactly. We
Can't
avoid
wait
it.
for your framework to be out in the world.
Yes, yes,
Cannot wait. Okay, here's one final question, and
yes.
I am personally very curious how where you're gonna take this one. What one daily habit would you have the entire world practice, and why?
Oh, that is a great question. One daily habit takes 5 minutes. Okay, and that daily habit is a form, we could call it meditation, but it's a very specific form. And basically what you do is you take a complete pause in your day. So no social media, no stimulation, no mute, nothing. And be in a quiet space. I call it it's a noticing meditation. You go inside and all you do is you go, what do I notice? There's nothing to fix. There's nothing to solve. There's not a right way or a wrong way to do it. And so what you do is you go inside and you go, oh, I notice, oh, I notice I have pain in my knee. It's a throbbing pain. Okay, if I take my attention to that, what happens? Oh, now I'm noticing that there's something else going on. I'm having a sensation in my gut. Okay, I'm going to go there and I'm just going to be with that. And it's a noticing experience. And then also, do I have thoughts? Am I telling myself stories? Like, oh, I have a pain in my knee. Oh, then the story comes in. Oh my God, I might have to have knee surgery. Oh my God, I'm afraid of surgery. And to just be aware, because what it's doing is it's building the muscle. It is building the muscle. It's building the skill set to be aware of what is happening inside of you in terms of your sensation, your nervous system being activated, and the stories you tell yourself. And the more you do this, the better you get at this. So I have been a lifelong meditator. I've been meditating since 1998. And sometimes this feels overwhelming, and it's like driving. The first time you drive, there's so many things to be aware of. Now we can do it on autopilot, right? For me, with this noticing experience and meditation, is I can be having a conversation, and I'm having a conversation with you right now, Jade. And as I'm having the conversation, I'm very aware what's happening in my body, what are the stories that are happening in the background, and being able to manage that and regulate that as I'm having the conversation with you. So that is the one thing that I think has the most bang for its buck. It's very simple. You can't do it wrong. You can't do it
Yes.
wrong. Right?
Foolproof.
Right.
Foolproof. We like foolproof
Bingo.
things.
Yes.
Yes.
And if you
Yes.
do that every day, and if you do it multiple times a day, great. You're even better off. You build that skill so that when you do things that are hard, like having hard conversations, you've got the skill set, and it can go a long way. A
Mm.
long way.
Yes, that was so good. I hope everybody jot some notes down, put that one in your calendar, in your tasks, your five
Yes.
minute noticing exercise.
Yes.
I can't thank you enough. I think the listeners are going to really enjoy this episode. You're not only an incredible human, which I feel like I've given you kudos for that before, but
Thank you.
also not many, highly successful, ambitious, badass people want to share about their breakdowns
All right.
publicly. And that
Absolutely.
is it's a game changer for humans to know that we are all humans. Like how you
Yes.
open this was so perfect, such a great full
Yes.
circle. Like here we are humaning.
Yes.
And it takes practice. We don't
Yes.
human on the inside. We
No.
human out here.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you are a beautiful human. I
Thank
feel
you.
blessed to have met you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for being on the pod. And I
Absolutely.
cannot wait to get your next book.
All right. Thank you, Jade. Thank you. It was great.
Yes.
All righty.